RICO. Police want to chase the guys? They want to chase? They want to chase us, cuz? I don't think they want to do that. I will slap the shit out of you. Are you dumb? Listen, you signed to Kodak. I signed myself, kid. Bro, you got beer, breach. Are you dumb, you bum? You're a bum, cuz. On Crip, you're a bum.
So what happened to your arm?
This
Yeah.
I had punch, punch him. Yeah, I tight punch him.
You punched somebody and you broke your hand.
Nah, I punched like the wall.
Brooklyn Drill has produced some of the hardest rappers in the game, but none have left a mark quite like Sheff G. A founding father of the scene, he went from a hungry street kid to a rap star, but he never let go of his street ties.
There's absolutely no possible way that you would ever cooperate with the police for any reason,
Never.
regardless of...
They could bury me in prison and they send me in a cell. I'll be bodybuilding, eating food, living good.
At first, he was just another rapper on the rise, dodging cops and ops in equal measure. But as the money and power grew, so did his influence. And when the streets started whispering about how deep Sheff really was in the trenches, there weren't just rumors. Like him or not, whether you think he oversold it or not, you can agree that Sheff G definitely left a mark in the New York drill scene. To understand the legend of Sheff G, you have to go back to where it all started. Sheff G, born Michael Kyle Williams, grew up in Flatbush, Brooklyn, in a strict Caribbean household. His mother was from Trinidad, and his father was Haitian. Despite his father having a reputation in the streets, he wanted a different life for his son. However, growing up in Flatbush, Sheff G was surrounded by gang culture from an early age. He got into fights, ran with the wrong crowd, and found himself in trouble more times than he could count. By his teenage years, he was already deep in the street life. The neighborhood he lived in was filled with violence, and many young men saw gangs as a way to survive. Sheff G became associated with the 8-Tray gangster Crips, also known as the Moving Gang. Law enforcement kept a close eye on him and his crew, constantly stopping and searching them. No matter where he went or who he was with, the police would run up on them, making it clear they were being watched.
With you.
Started,
Yeah.
like 16, 15.
Okay, so give me an example of some of the stuff that the cops would do.
Anytime they see you, run down. Anytime.
At just 18 years old, he was sentenced to 5 years of parole. That experience should have been a wake-up call, but at the time, it didn't seem like a big deal to him. The streets had already shaped his mindset, making jail and run-ins with the law feel like a normal part of life. But even though he was caught up in the streets, music was always something that spoke to him. He was heavily influenced by Chicago drill, especially artists like Chief Keef and Lil Herb, now known as G Herbo.
Hit the rack, I'm in the black, feel like the Dark Knight.
Their music resonated with him because they rapped about the same struggles he was facing. Eventually, he decided to try making music himself. He started recording songs with his friend Sleepy Hallow, another young rapper from Brooklyn. At first, it was just something they did for fun. But after dropping a few tracks on SoundCloud, people started paying attention. Songs like Nightmare on For Them racks got positive reactions, and their friends encouraged them to take music seriously. What made his partnership with Sleepy Hallow even more interesting was the fact that they weren't always friends. They were actually supposed to be enemies. Coming from different crews, they had beef when they were younger. At one point, they planned to meet up and fight, but instead of fighting, they ended up talking and realizing they had a lot in common. From that day on, they became close friends and started making music together. The song that truly changed everything for Sheff G was No Suburban, a response track aimed at Brooklyn rapper 22G's.
Why these is mad, but he coming fast, gotta chase a bag. I'm the reason why these is mad.
In the drill music scene, diss tracks often fuel rivalries, and this one was no different. The song quickly went viral, racking up hundreds of thousands of views within weeks. Suddenly, Sheff G's name was everywhere, and people started seeing him as one of the leading voices in Brooklyn drill. The success of No Suburban brought him recognition beyond New York too. People across the country were now tuning into his music. Even kids in Brooklyn were singing his lyrics, throwing up gang signs in his music videos, and looking up to him like a neighborhood hero.
Sheff G, real quick. Sheff G.
Fans would run up to him on the street, and some would even start crying when they saw him, unable to believe they were meeting someone they saw as a legend. That track put him on the map. It was raw, aggressive, and full of energy, exactly what the streets wanted. From that point on, Sheff G became a Brooklyn drill pioneer. His music was the soundtrack to the streets, but it was also fueling real-life beefs. Because while Sheff was blowing up in rap, he was also making moves in the underworld. Sheff wasn't just rapping about gang life, he was living it. Authorities say he was more than just an artist. He was a leader, a shot caller. Allegedly, Sheff bankrolled gang activities, paid for hits, and kept his crew well fed. The cops started paying attention. Brooklyn was already on fire with gang violence, and Sheff's name kept coming up in investigations.
As they continue to expand their territories, there are more conflicts and more rivalries happen. And so we're starting to see this happening. These gangs are joining together.
At first, it was just whispers. The NYPD blacklisted him from performing at major events like Rolling Loud. They saw him as a threat. And in the streets, his enemies wanted him gone just as bad as the cops did. Then things started escalating. You see, when artists diss each other in drill music, it's rarely just about music. There are real-life consequences. Sheff and 22G's have had an ongoing feud on social media, with both repeatedly calling each other a snitch. Their beef has led to some serious situations, including one where Sheff got stabbed in the head. But 22G's wasn't the one behind it. In the No Suburban's music video, Sheff was seen wearing pigtail braids. However, during an interview with DJ Vlad, he shared that he had to cut them off after an OPP caught him off guard and stabbed him at the back of his head.
So you get cut in the head. Did you feel it when it happened?
Nah, my adrenaline was just too up. So I couldn't really feel it. When I seen the blood, that's how I knew I got cut.
The incident happened right after he left a meeting with his probation officer. In Brooklyn, there's a specific area where people on probation go to check in. And that's where he unexpectedly ran into an enemy. A fight broke out, and at some point during the scuffle, someone sliced him in the head from behind. He didn't realize what had happened until he felt blood running down his face, forcing him to get medical attention. Sheff has never publicly identified the person responsible, but speculation quickly spread. Many believe the attacker was Nick Blixky, a rapper closely associated with 22G's and the Blixky gang. Before being shot and offed in May 2020, Nick was gaining traction as one of the most promising up-and-coming artists in the group. Although Sheff hasn't confirmed the rumors, a line in his song Start Some Shit made people connect the dots. He rapped, "Remember I got cut, the ops is all in a spliff."
Remember I got cut, the ops is all in a spliff.
The lyric strongly hints that the person who attacked him is no longer alive. While it doesn't outright prove anything, it aligns with the speculation surrounding Nick Blixky's involvement. Following the stabbing, Sheff went live on Instagram straight from his hospital bed. His face was covered in bandages, and his hair was noticeably different. Since doctors had to shave part of his head to stitch up the wound, he decided to cut it all off rather than walk around with uneven hair. Sheff didn't let the situation slow him down. He continued making music and remained active in the rap scene, proving that even a serious injury couldn't take him out of the game. However, although his music career was taking off, he still had one foot in the streets, and that would eventually catch up with him. Sheff G had problems with several Brooklyn crews, but the most intense and dangerous feud was with 22G's and the Blixkys. The tension between them wasn't just internet beef or rap diss tracks. It was real, and it spilled into the streets multiple times, leading to shootings, fights, and arrests. In 2019, the war between these crews turned deadly. A shooting took place, allegedly tied to the ongoing battle between Sheff G's camp and his rivals. While details were scarce, the incident only fueled the already existing bad blood between these groups. Things escalated even further in 2020 when Sheff G got into an all-out brawl inside a courthouse. Yes, you heard that right. A fight broke out in a courtroom right in front of the judge and legal officials. That moment proved that Sheff wasn't just talking tough in his lyrics. He was really about that life, unafraid to throw hands no matter where he was, even if it meant risking legal consequences in broad daylight.
You already know, you mad scary, bro. You mad scary, man.
Then, in 2021, things reached a boiling point when footage surfaced of an attack on Sniper Blixky, another rapper affiliated with 22G's and the Blixky gang. The streets were buzzing with speculation, and many people were pointing fingers at Sheff G's crew. The whispers and rumors weren't just talk. Many truly believe Sheff had something to do with it. But regardless of what was being said, Sheff G kept moving like a boss, making money, dropping music, and living the high life. However, despite all the success, one thing was clear. The streets weren't letting him go that easily. By early 2021, Sheff G's run-in with the law took a serious turn. In January, police pulled him over for reckless driving. But this wasn't just any routine traffic stop. When they searched his car, they found a .45 caliber Glock with a loaded magazine tucked away in a secret compartment. That discovery led to Sheff being charged with criminal possession of a weapon on top of multiple traffic violations. This wasn't just bad luck. Law enforcement had been keeping tabs on Sheff for a while. In fact, back in 2019, he and his crew had already been stopped by police under suspicion that they were riding in a stolen car. That incident made it clear that Sheff was already on the NYPD's radar, and they were slowly building a case against him. Despite the gun charge, Sheff managed to post bail, but the message was clear. The heat was on. The cops weren't just watching him. They were waiting for the perfect moment to make their next move. A few months later, Sheff found himself in even deeper trouble. This time, he was hit with another gun charge, and it wasn't just another slap on the wrist. This was a felony, and this time, there was no getting out of it so easily. The judge denied him bail, meaning Sheff was immediately sent to Rikers Island, one of the most infamous jails in the country. The reality of his situation started to sink in. No more flashy cars, no more studio sessions, no more living like a king. He was now just another inmate waiting for his fate to be decided by the court. After spending time behind bars, Sheff eventually took a plea deal, which resulted in a 2-year prison sentence. That alone was a huge setback for his career, but things were about to get even worse. Because in 2023, Sheff G's name was tied to something much bigger than a gun charge. By May 2023, the NYPD and FBI had been working on something massive. They weren't just looking at individual crimes anymore. They were putting together a case that connected multiple crimes to an organized street gang. When the dust settled, authorities announced a major gang takedown, charging 32 alleged gang members in one of the biggest RICO cases Brooklyn had seen in years. And among those arrested, Sheff G and his close collaborator, Sleepy Hallow. The charges were serious. Law enforcement didn't just accuse Sheff G of being involved in violence, they claimed he was one of the masterminds behind it all.
Williams, better known as drill rapper Sheff G, who previously pleaded guilty to gun possession. He was booked on new charges. Police say he controlled the streets even though he was locked down.
Prosecutors alleged that Sheff G was using his music money to pay for hits on his enemies, providing financial support to the gang. One of the biggest incidents tied to his name was a 2020 mass shooting on Folk Nation turf, where one person lost their life and 5 others were left wounded. And get this, prosecutors say Sheff wasn't just involved. He allegedly sent out a text message confirming that his crew, aka 8 Trey Crips and 9 Ways, handled business. To make things even more disturbing, he reportedly sent his own sister pictures of the victims and news articles covering the shooting. But that's not even the craziest part. After the deadly incident, Sheff allegedly took his crew out for a fancy celebration dinner at Brooklyn Chop House, as if they just won a championship game instead of committing a crime. And if that wasn't enough, authorities claim he played getaway driver for a 2021 revenge shooting in Flatbush where 2 innocent bystanders got caught in the crossfire. Oh, and the whole thing was allegedly caught on camera. And let's talk about his right-hand man, Sleepy Hallow. The indictment dragged him into the mess too, painting him as a co-conspirator. Investigators say Sleepy was spotted in a video holding a gun with another suspect and in a social media post throwing shade at a rival gang with a disrespectful hand sign. But it didn't stop there. Prosecutors also claimed he was texting and calling a co-defendant on the same day that person allegedly stole a car that was later used in the 2020 shooting. And to top it all off, reports suggest Sleepy was sitting right at that celebration dinner, dining like a king after all the chaos. Now, this wasn't just a small charge. Sheff G was facing serious legal trouble that could put him behind bars for years. Sitting in a jail cell, everything Sheff G had worked for was hanging by a thread. The fame, the money, the opportunities. His entire career was on hold as he waited to find out what his future would look like. This wasn't just another legal hiccup. This was the kind of case that could define the rest of his life. But after 14 long months behind bars, the Brooklyn drill rapper finally got his freedom back. In April 2024, Sheff G secured his release by posting a jaw-dropping $1.5 million bond, proving that even with serious charges looming over him, his influence and bank account was still very much intact. And of course, he wasn't about to let the moment pass quietly. On Sunday, April 21st, 2024, Sheff G made his grand return to Instagram, dropping a collage of videos and photos to announce his release. In true Sheff G style, his caption was loud, confident, and full of energy. 10 million bond, 1.5 million cash bail was the ticket, he wrote in all caps, making sure nobody missed the details. Bail paid same day. Are you dumb? Sheff G back. New York. We effing lit, they counted me out. They thought I was done. He wasn't just flexing his legal victory, he was making a statement. Sheff made it clear that he wasn't coming back quietly and that his team, Winner's Circle, was still strong. He ended his post with a message to his fans. Winner's Circle, I'm with the stars, baby. You can come and eat with us, you ain't gotta starve, baby. Sheff's release sent shockwaves through this Brooklyn drill scene. Fans immediately started speculating about what was next. Would he drop new music? Would he address the charges that put him behind bars in the first place? One thing was certain, Sheff G wasn't planning to disappear. But while he may be out of jail, he's far from being in the clear. His legal troubles are still very real, and his future remains uncertain. The charges against him haven't magically disappeared. He had it all. Fame, money, and a dedicated fan base. But one wrong decision, one bad move, or one old connection to the streets was enough to throw it all into jeopardy. If he beats the case, he'll have a second chance, a chance to switch things up, focus on his music, and maybe even inspire the next generation of Brooklyn rappers. He could show young kids from his city that there's a different way to make it out. But if the charges stick, he could be looking at years behind bars, joining the list of rappers whose careers were cut short by the same street life that got them famous in the first place. There's no doubt that Sheff G left his mark on Brooklyn drill. His music changed the game, and his influence is undeniable. But the real question is, will he get the chance to continue his legacy, or is his past finally catching up to him? Only time will tell. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye!